Hello friends, my name is Akshay Agrawal and I have secured All India rank 43 in Civil Service Examination 2018. My optional subject was economics and today I will be talking about the strategy to prepare economics optional. Those who have taken economics optional must be knowing that economics is a subject that comes at a crossroads of science and humanities. So there is a lot of technical stuff in economics, but at the same time there is a humanities angle also. So this makes this subject a very interesting one, and hence if you love it, you can really bring good marks in UPSC economics optional. So let's talk about the preparation strategy. In this video, I will be talking about the book list to be followed and importance of certain things in paper 1 as well as paper 2 of economics optional. First of all, let's start with paper 1. Paper 1 covers microeconomics, macroeconomics, international economics, public finance, growth and development, environmental economics, and money and banking. For microeconomics, friends, all of us follow Ahuja. Ahuja is a very good book which covers almost every topic from microeconomics as well as welfare economics. It is a very thick book, but we have to do it cover to cover. Also, there are a few chapters that can be skipped, but if done, there is no harm. So I would recommend you, if you are starting now, you have plenty of time, so you can cover the entire book of micro and make your own notes out of it. Because the book is very repetitive and although it looks very fat, you can make very small notes out of it to revise before the exam. The second part of the paper 1 is macroeconomics. For macroeconomics, a good starting point is Richard Froyen. Apart from Richard Froyen, we can also follow the book by again H.L. Ahuja. These two books cover macroeconomics as well as money and banking. And from this as well, we have to prepare our own notes, because notes will help us in analyzing different models right from the classical economists to Keynesians, then to monetarists, and you will be able to do a comparative studies of different models if you have made your own notes. Then the third part of this paper is international economics. The only book that has to be followed for this subject is the book by Salvatore and also by Krugman. But Krugman has to be followed only for certain topics such as speculative attacks. Otherwise, Salvatore covers almost everything that is asked in this examination. And again, this book has to be covered from cover to cover and there is no topic that we can leave out of it. But believe me, it is a very good book and you will enjoy reading it. Also here, please make your own notes out of this book. Then the fourth part of this paper is public finance. Friends, let me confess that there is no good book to prepare public finance from. However, a book by Bhatia as well as Musgrave and Musgrave cover a few topics. What I had done was, I had read these books and picked some of the important topics, made my own notes. Otherwise, I had followed Gaurav Agrawal's notes for public finance. Then the last part of this paper is growth and developmental theories. For growth and developmental theories, there are some books, for example, Thirlwall, M.L. Jhingan, but notes by 2014 batch topper Mr. Gaurav Agrawal are also very good and you can download them and cover these topics from those notes as well. Now this was about the book list and resources to follow for paper 1. There are a few pointers that I would like to mention for this paper. The first one is the importance of graphs and diagrams in this paper. In microeconomics as well as macro, international economics and public finance, various graphs, for example the utility graphs, the graphs of demand and supply, ISLM curves, these become very much necessary and they form an important part of your answer. Sometimes it may be that 50% of the credit in answer may be given only to the graph. So it is very necessary that you actually take a pen and paper and practice these graphs before you write an answer. Then the second most important thing that I would like to tell you is that do not write irrelevant stuff in this paper. Because this paper is purely technical, nobody expects you to write introduction or a conclusion. You have to directly hit the nail in the head in this paper and start with a few assumptions if some model is asked and then draw the necessary diagram and then go on explaining the model. This is what has to be done. If you write irrelevant stuff in this paper, two things may happen. One is you will lose your time and second thing is the examiner may think that you don't know the real stuff and the model, and hence you are trying to write the irrelevant stuff to fill the space. And therefore, for this exam, answer writing is very important, and in these you will be able to practice drawing different graphs and diagrams, and this is how the paper 1 has to be covered. Now let's talk of paper 2. Economics paper 2 is basically the history of India, economic history of India. If we see the syllabus, the syllabus is divided broadly into two parts. The first one is the pre-independence India and the second one is the post-independence India. Let's first talk about the pre-independence economic history. For pre-independence economic history, I had followed mainly three sources. The first one was a book by Tirthankar Roy. In these, a selected few chapters have to be covered and you have to look up the concepts given in the syllabus, and only the relevant portion of the book have to be prepared. Secondly, the book that has to be followed is the book by Irfan Habib. In this, you will get very good data points and analytics about the pre-independence economic history of India. The third resource that I had followed for this was the modern history textbook of Spectrum. In this, the portion of the economic policy of British India comes in very much important for this paper as well. So the book that you follow for modern history for prelims comes very useful for economics paper 2 also. Then the second portion of this paper is the post-independence economic history of India. In this, again, this part is divided into two main parts. The first one is pre-liberalization phase and the second one is post-liberalization phase. For each of this part, the syllabus is given in the UPSC notification. What we have to do is, we have to look up the notification and look up for the relevant resources. Most of the resources are online Google searches, EPW articles, as well as reports by Agriculture Ministry, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises, as well as reports by the Reserve Bank of India. At the same time, for this paper, a book by Uma Kapila, the newest edition that is available, has to be followed. This book will give you a brief history of everything that has happened since independence in India and also what are the current policy issues that are there. Apart from this, we also need to prepare certain topics from monetary policy as well as fiscal policy, FRBMA, etc. for this paper. Then the trends of poverty and inequality. All these can be covered from EPW articles as well as some Google searches. And this paper has to be very dynamically prepared and there is no one resource. But the good thing is most of the questions, they come from current affairs. And therefore for current affairs, you can use economic survey, and economic survey is really very important because the questions, if you see, would come directly from there. And therefore if you have read both the volumes of economic survey, this paper will really fetch you good marks. For answer writing in paper 2 as well, I would recommend you to use graphs and diagrams to show certain data and trends. This also, you should remember names of certain papers which have important links to the topics in the syllabus. For example, for poverty, inequality, you must remember the names of certain committees like Tendulkar Committee, Rangarajan Committee, etc. If you put these names in your answer, then this really adds value and you can get really good marks for this paper. About all the resources and book list for this, you can also find them on my blog. I'll also be sharing my notes on my blog and you can find them there. All the best and thank you so much.